So guys, after last week's major letdown in terms of new Apple releases, there's really only one iPad worth reviewing, and it's not the M2 iPad Pro. Let's ramble.
Hold up, things go wild when I pull up. They all on me like at once.
Hey, what's up guys? It's great to see you all again, and if you're new here, I'm Patrick, and this is where I ramble about tech and other stuff. So guys, last week was a total dud. We didn't get an Apple event. Instead, Apple chose to release their new products via a series of press releases, and in hindsight, I can't blame them. This M2 iPad Pro must be the most uninspiring upgrade since the launch of the first iPad Pro. It is basically last year's M1 iPad Pro with a slightly faster processor, and let's be honest, the M1 iPad Pro even today is complete overkill in terms of hardware. There isn't a single app in the App Store that makes full use of its hardware potential. So why we needed an even more powerful version of the exact same iPad is beyond me. Anyway, I already dedicated an entire video to venting my frustrations about this release. If you want to hear me rant, I'll link to that video at the end of this one. But for the purpose of this video, I'll spare you any further ramblings about the M2 iPad Pro. Apple also released yet another rendition of the Apple TV, which is whatever, so that really only leaves us with the 10th generation iPad that I have with me right here. Now, normally, I'd never get excited about the entry-level iPad. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a tech snob, I'm aware of it, and I'm working on it, okay? But this year, after reading the press releases and seeing the promo videos, I was genuinely interested in seeing what this new base model iPad is all about, especially since it was the only product that actually came with entirely new features like the camera in landscape mode and like the brand new keyboard with a row of function keys that has been painfully absent on the Magic Keyboards for the iPad Pro and Air. So I went for the yellow iPad because why not? It's kind of gold actually. It's new, it's fresh, and I wanted something different for a change. And I actually think it looks pretty dope. Not much else in the box. We get the charging cable, which is braided, and I have been enjoying the new braided cables that came with my other Apple devices, so that's a plus. And of course, we have a charging brick. I know some of you get a kick out of these Apple stickers. Unfortunately, there are no matching colorful ones in the box, just your standard white sticker. Anyway, that's enough with the unboxing. I'm sure you've seen a ton of them by now, so let's skip that. The first thing that is obviously different is the design. This thing looks almost identical to the iPad Air. The bezels seem to be the same thickness, and even the chassis looks the same. Gone are the rounded edges we saw all the way up to the iPad 9, making this 10th gen iPad officially the last iPad to join the new design language, which is the straight edges and boxier designs. The only visible differences compared to the Air are of course this new camera placement, which we will get back to in a minute, and the smart connector dots have moved from the back to the bottom, and I'll show you why that is in a minute as well. With that said, when we turn the iPad on, and let's fast forward, I won't bore you with the setup process, there's another very noticeable and unfortunate difference, and that is that this iPad still doesn't have a laminated display. For those of you who don't know, most iPads these days have laminated displays, which basically means that the display sits right against the glass of the iPad. There's no air or space in between, which gives you that feeling of literally touching the display. A non-laminated display, like the one we unfortunately see on this iPad 10, does have that gap between the glass and the actual display, and it's noticeable. The display doesn't look as nice because of it, and you will get noticeably more glare. The display is the same in most other ways. It's got 500 nits, etc., which is fine for indoor use, but yeah, I wish it was laminated because it looks quite dated. It also feels weird, especially when using an Apple Pencil, because it actually feels like you're writing on glass, and that feeling of direct contact with your iPad that you get on a laminated display is kind of gone. So to me, the entry-level iPad is perfect for things like web browsing. Speaking of which, do you have your own website yet? And if not, what's keeping you? If you're a creative or any kind of professional for that matter, it is really important to build your own brand, and the easiest way to be found online is to create your own website. No idea how to do that? Squarespace is the perfect tool for you, trust me. I don't know the first thing about building websites, but when I put together my website using Squarespace 2 years ago, it literally took me a couple of hours from start to finish. You just pick one of Squarespace's awesome templates, depending on your business, and from there, you can customize it and really make it your own. You can create member areas, you can set up an online store, do email campaigns, you name it. My own website is definitely due for an update, and I can honestly tell you that shooting the new photos for the website will take more time than it does to update my actual website. It's that easy. So guys, head on over to squarespace.com for the free trial, and when you're ready to launch, make sure you go to squarespace.com/PatrickRambles to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain using the code PatrickRambles. Right, back to the video. Now, speaking of the Apple Pencil, the big elephant in the room, yes, this 10th generation 2022 iPad still uses the first generation Apple Pencil. But the frustration doesn't end there. Oh no, there's more. As you know, the first gen Apple Pencil charger uses a lightning connector, and I'm sure you've seen these ridiculous images of people in coffee shops with their pencils sticking directly out of their iPads, like the iPad is very happy to see you. Well, at least that won't be happening now. Why? Because the iPad comes with, drumroll please, a USB-C port. Now, while that is a great thing in principle, I mean, it's about time, it does mean that you can no longer charge your Apple Pencil directly with your iPad. So you actually need a USB-C to Lightning adapter to charge your Apple Pencil. But don't worry, kids, Apple wouldn't be Apple if they didn't sell you the solution to the problem they just created. So they will provide you with this handy dandy USB-C to Lightning adapter. And no, it doesn't come in the box. Of course not. Are you kidding me? You can pay for it. Thank you, Tim. Anyway, it's kind of obvious why Apple chose not to give us compatibility with the Gen 2 Apple Pencil, and that is the position of the selfie camera. It has now finally moved to landscape orientation where it belongs, and can I just get a hallelujah, because man, we've been asking for this change for years, and it does look so much better. I mean, we got center stage, and while it does help a little bit, it makes a difference mostly in terms of framing, but it still looks like you're looking off to the side. This looks much more natural and like you're used to from using laptops to do your video calls. But yeah, that does mean there's no room for the magnetic charging required for the Apple Pencil 2, so this has clearly been a trade-off. Now, I really hope that Apple brings us a proper redesign of the iPad Pro next year so that we can have the front-facing camera where it belongs and have a place for the Apple Pencil as well. Samsung fixed it by placing it on the back. Not the most elegant solution, and I hope Apple will find a more creative one, but at least Samsung fixed their problem and gave their consumers both a pencil and a properly positioned front-facing camera. So to charge the pencil, we need this adapter now, but that still doesn't fix the problem all the way. You will need a USB-C cable to connect the adapter to your iPad and then connect your pencil to the adapter. So this feels like a very clunky solution, and I can only imagine how easy it will be to lose that little adapter thingy. But hey, at least we found another way to keep sponsoring our favorite company, right? Funny little detail is that the pencil actually does attach to the iPad, just not very strongly. Now, before we move on to the keyboard, there's another upgrade from the 9th generation iPad that I feel is overlooked a little bit, and that is the fact that we now have stereo speakers on opposite sides. And that does make a difference, especially when watching videos or gaming. Just a little tip. Between the position of the speakers and the camera and the new Magic Keyboard Folio, it is clear that the iPad is meant to be used predominantly in landscape mode. So when you're setting up the iPad, I'd recommend scanning both of your index fingers, the right one in case you want to use it in portrait mode, and the left one in case you want to use it in landscape mode, because that is where the scanner will be if you want the camera on top. Anyway, just a little tip. Right, the keyboard. I have mixed feelings about this. Let me explain. I mentioned earlier that the smart connector dots have moved from the back of the iPad to the bottom of the iPad, and that is to accommodate the new keyboard, which now snaps onto the bottom and comes with a separate back part with a kickstand. So let me give you the things I like about it first. What I love about this keyboard is that it finally comes with a row of function keys. I wish the iPad Pro's Magic Keyboard would have this, but the design simply will not allow it, as it would be awkwardly positioned below the screen and you would keep hitting the bottom of the iPad with your fingers. We've seen some really cool patents filed by Apple of a redesigned keyboard with more and higher viewing angles, so if something like that would materialize, I can see the function keys coming to the new Magic Keyboard as well. Fingers crossed. By the way, the patent also shows a dedicated charging space for the Apple Pencil inside the hinge of the keyboard, so that could be part of the solution we need to get that camera on the side bezel. Second thing I really like about this keyboard is the fact that it comes in two parts, meaning I can keep the back part attached semi-permanently and use it as a kickstand. What I don't like about this keyboard is that it comes in two parts. Wait, didn't you just say I'll explain. What I like about the OG Magic Keyboard is the weight distribution. While the viewing angles are limited and a bit awkward at times, Apple managed to really nail the weight distribution on this thing, which means it is perfect for use on your lap, aka perfect lapability. I strongly dislike this type of keyboard with a kickstand because it never sits right on your lap. The Microsoft Surface, the Samsung S8 Ultra, they all have it and it just doesn't work on your lap. And that means I will need a desk to type comfortably, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having a tablet for me. And if you think you can attach this tablet to the Magic Keyboard since it's got the same shape as the iPad Air, think again, because the fact that the smart connectors move to the bottom make it incompatible with the Magic Keyboard. Obviously, time will tell to see how much I will end up liking or disliking this keyboard, but those are my thoughts as they stand right now. Now, I can't do this video without talking about the price, because that is where I think this iPad becomes very, very awkward. The major selling point for the entry-level iPad has always been its relatively low price point at $329. This new iPad starts at $449, which is quite a steep increase if you're on a budget, especially if you want to add the Magic Keyboard Folio, which at $249 is only $50 cheaper than the Magic Keyboard. The new price point also puts it in a very close range of the iPad Air, which is $150 more, but you get the M1 chip, a better and laminated display, better camera on the back, compatibility with the second-gen Apple Pencil, and of course the Magic Keyboard. I will be spending a good amount of time with this iPad to find out more pros and cons and to figure out who this iPad is actually for, so don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in those follow-ups. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give it one of these. It really does make a difference. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.